All right, it's a couple minutes past the top of the hour. We'll go ahead and get started. Good morning or afternoon, depending on your geography. Thanks for joining Avtex for the latest in a series of contact center webinars. Speaking is Bob Trainer, Vice President of our Contact Center practice, where my team focuses on consulting services in support of our interactive intelligence business, whether that's our legacy CIC or premise-based business or PureCloud. Today we'll be discussing the extension of the PureCloud platform via the core API. This is not really meant to be a highly technical, developer-centric deep dive, but really rather an opportunity to get exposed to, from a business perspective, how your PureCloud investment can be enhanced to suit known needs that fall outside of the core product or services, with perhaps a little developer speak sprinkled in. For an agenda, we'll start by talking through Interactive Intelligence's approach to the platform from an API perspective, the various APIs available today, with really the identification of the one that we'll be focusing on for today's discussion and how it has evolved over time. We'll then get into a couple of use cases that we've found to resonate well within our PureCloud customer base as well as internally here at Avtex, both centered around reporting data and analytics. Towards the end of today's session, before opening up the call to questions, as I know there are many of you getting introduced to Avtex for the first time, I'll provide some insight into Avtex as an organization, what our focus areas are, and how we can ideally help you and your business transform how you provide service to your customers. So let's talk a little bit about the API at a high level. Interactive really took an API-first approach with PureCloud, similar to how they approach specific applications within their legacy product CIC, meaning the API was really developed first without any sort of code being put against the platform. That API was then leveraged inherently to architect and develop the actual platform. This provides incredible flexibility in how you manage not only your contact center solution, but more specifically how you can provide service to your customers through the platform. As this is really open source, fully public API, very consumable endpoints, ideally or hypothetically, you could create your own PureCloud platform. Several APIs are currently and publicly available today. The platform API, where we'll be spending much of today, is really the core API that provides direct access into PureCloud. This is where we would provide common integrations and capabilities such as screen pop, CTI, embedded call control, presence management, and in today's case, data analytics. Other APIs, which we won't dig into really in any detail, include a web service data DIP API that provides access into your local environment through what we call Bridge Server for IVR data consumption, etc. Bridge is really the one, at least currently, on-site component that's required to pull an Active Directory, additional integrations from your local environment, and in this particular case, this is where we would develop a web service that attaches to your data locally and surfaces that to an IVR. Additional APIs include webhooks, web chat, and co-browse APIs. Won't go into those really at all, but just keep in mind that all of these are well documented and publicly available online, and all of those resources will be presented towards the end of this. The platform API is fully REST-based. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. The API, REST as a protocol is really a foundational principle of the web today, where descriptive, open definitions for client-server communication are used to access data via web services. What this means is that developers current on web technologies today will likely have a high level of comfort working with REST. Now, if you happen to have a development environment or staff that spends most of their time in a third-party language, which is not uncommon, Interactive Intelligence has additionally provided SDKs or client libraries that will allow them to work natively in the language and development environment of their choice. Current supported SDKs include those for JavaScript, Java, C#, Ruby, and Python. Just as an example, Avtex is very much a Microsoft development shop. We've got a high degree of comfort level working with REST natively through web technologies, but depending on the solution that we're architecting, we can absolutely leverage C# with a high degree of comfort as well, just an example. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the core or platform API. As I indicated towards the top of this, an API-first approach or strategy was really taken. The platform itself was released as GA in June of last year. At that same time, the platform API v1 was released to help support that. It's important to note that v1 was really a beta version of that API. Very much publicly available, but somewhat held close to Interactive's vest, meaning there continued to be some internal APIs that they leveraged for the core platform that weren't publicly exposed. And that was intentional, as they knew that they would be evolving the platform quickly, especially over the first 6-12 months, which was absolutely the case. They wanted to hold back development of what we now call v2, which is really the GA version of the API, until April of this year. And what's important to note is that v2, once again released in April, provided really now the full suite of endpoints that we as a partner really needed to leverage to help support our customers. Good examples of those included conversation related API endpoints, meaning being able to tap into interaction or call specific data, analytics, which is where we'll be spending some time today, presence control and management, and additional authentication options. Let's talk about our first primary use case for today, for today's discussion. Not unlike just about any contact center solution out there today, PureCloud does ship with dashboard capabilities as well as reporting containers. Today, I believe we have about 50 out-of-the-box reports organized within 19 categories. While that on paper constitutes a healthy collection of out-of-the-box data and reporting options, there are many opportunities for creating new or extending how PureCloud reporting is surfaced. And an example use case is really surrounding the highlighted options here, which would be the Q-Metrics daily report contained within the Q Reports container. And as we dig into this use case, it's going to be important to note that these will continue to evolve and grow. As I indicated, we have 50 reports. That will continue to grow as the platform matures, and we've already seen that over the last 3 months. So the specific use case we want to talk about is really surrounding Q-Metrics. In this particular incident, we had a PureCloud customer of ours who had started to report on a high level of abandons, very much a demarcation from how they were used to seeing abandons in their previous contact center. As we dug in and as we leveraged the assistance of Interactive Intelligence as a good partner, we learned that a high degree or high number of those abandons that they were seeing within the core reporting and dashboarding were a result of what we would call short abandons, meaning the call traverses the IVR, ultimately gets to a work group for agent delivery, and the caller hangs up within a short amount of time after being presented to that work group. This particular client of ours was accustomed to being able to throttle, in a sense, by work group, what level of short abandon they would accommodate. Meaning, if for work group A, calls abandoned based upon the call routing and call flow, if calls abandonments of work group delivery, they had the ability to exclude those from their Q metrics. Perhaps a different work group B, based upon the call routing, they could sustain, a short abandon of 7 seconds, as an example. And as you see here, this is an actual core PureCloud report with abandon percentages riding anywhere from 19 to upwards of 31%. And in the client's mind, that was utterly unacceptable. And this happened to be a client who, is an outsourcer, so they were surfacing this data back to their constituents and customers, and it became, a glaring need for some customization. So this resulted in really a need to leverage, the rich out-of-the-box PureCloud data, but while enhancing it to service their specific needs. And the last bullet point is really the driver for this overall discussion, as it had a direct impact on their revenue. So the solution we landed on was really a marriage between the platform API and Power BI. The architecture and solution was meant not only to service the modified data, actually I should note, Power BI, for those who aren't all that intimate, Power BI is Microsoft's business analytics service, which provides a really interactive visualization as a self-service. And this is really important for a custom reporting discussion with PureCloud, as any custom reporting or analytics needs to be surfaced outside of PureCloud. There isn't currently the ability to, in other words, author custom reports and have those registered and embedded within the PureCloud administration, as we are accustomed doing in CIC. And so as we work with our clients to talk about custom reporting options, part of that discussion ultimately has to fall to a platform or solution or application in which to surface that report or data. And we chose Power BI, one, because we have a high level of expertise within Power BI, but we also found that Power BI plus Azure really provides a cost-effective way to do so that really puts the keys in the hands of the contact center and not IT. So let's dig into a few real screenshots of what we're talking about here. This is a Power BI dashboard for this client that I referenced earlier. The top graph, and once again, as this is highly interactive, all of these visualizations can be modified with a few mouse clicks to choose among a collection of different graphs or raw data. This is a static screenshot, but if I were to hover over any of these colored bars, you would actually get raw data exposed to you to help support that dashboard. The first of the three dashboards on the top represents a pre-modified Q-metrics collection of data for this particular client. And as you see here, blue is offered, black answered, pink abandoned. Abandon rates are riding quite high there, once again representing 25, 30 or more %. The middle graph, leveraging the platform API, wherein we had the ability to now remove by work group Q metrics based upon how many seconds after work group delivery a call was disconnected. And as you see here, we saw a drastic reduction in the abandoned data on the far right. And this is exactly what they needed to see as they surface this to their customers. And the bottom is an additional graph, once again post API customization, that shows kind of a collection of all of this measured against one another. A little difficult to see with the size of the screen, but once again, with the pink versus the black, which would be the new abandoned percentage data versus the original, represents a nice reduction in that specific metric. And as this is Power BI, once again having a lot of flexibility in being able to expose the data and surface it in a manner that's comfortable for each individual or each individual department. This is the exact same data represented in a different format. Once again, the top of the three is pre-modified, pre-customized data coming straight from PureCloud. The second is leveraging an enhanced API integration wherein we were able to throttle back those abandons. And the third is, once again, a composite of all of that, just represented in a different visualization. A second quick example leveraging data analytics surfaces rich conversation data. And in PureCloud, conversation data is really meant to include all of the different media types or interactions that ultimately PureCloud can receive and process. That can include calls, emails, social interactions, etc. And once again, this is all surfaced through a Power BI dashboard. This is actually pulling our production PureCloud org data and presenting with other web content in a unified desktop. And this is real time, once again screenshots, but if you were to see this live, you would actually see this data dynamically changing. And here's just an additional dashboard within the same collection that represents detail specific. As I noted earlier, there are a number of publicly available resources to support not only PureCloud, but the developer portion of PureCloud relative to these APIs. I've got these listed here so that if you want to come back and view the video later, you've got these. And once again, these are absolutely publicly available, no authentication required, fully open. We'll get to questions in just a few minutes here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about who Avtex is and what our focus area is, or areas are, I should say. Simply, our vision is to eliminate poor customer experiences. We've grown over time from a contact center focused organization as well as a sister company focused on Microsoft consulting. We merged several years ago, and that really resulted in a joint mission of utilizing our technology know-how to enable our clients to deliver an exceptional experience to their customers. We subscribe to something we call Avtex 360, which really helps define the focus or practice areas within our organization. Those include portals and collaboration, which is really our Microsoft productivity area of the business. The second is our customer intelligence practice area, which includes, as a primary focus, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, but also includes newcomers such as Parature, Power BI, as we've talked through a bit today, Cortana, and SQL Server. And Contact Center, which is the area that I represent, is really our interactive intelligence business. Despite seeing logos for Oracle and Skype for Business, those are really kind of bolt-on components to what we do as a core business, and that core business is absolutely anchored to interactive intelligence. Another concept that we subscribe to more and more as we work with our prospects and our clients is the concept of a true omnichannel customer experience. The term omnichannel gets mixed with multi-channel often, but I think there's a distinct difference there. Multi-channel just means that you're providing service through a multitude of media types to your customers. Omnichannel really means that you're doing so, but in a very consistent fashion, so that the experience is very consistent, very repeatable across the web, across your contact center or voice, across your mobile experience, across your email, etc. That's true omnichannel customer experience, and that's something we live and breathe. From a geography perspective, we're headquartered outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We've got additional brick and mortar located outside of San Francisco, Milwaukee, Chicago, and the Washington, D.C. area. We've currently got about 260 employees supporting and delivering services on behalf of about 1,000 customers, and we're very proud of that. We've got about 8 minutes left, and I'd like to open up the floor for questions if any of you have those today. So I'll start keeping an eye on this. I see Ray recognizes me from a former life. Nice to see you, Ray. Okay, I see one coming in now. Yeah, I kind of figured this topic would get brought up today considering the timing. The question is, how is the sale of Interactive going to affect the PureCloud service? Or what changes do you think will happen? And to frame that up, what was announced publicly this morning was that Genesys is going to acquire Interactive Intelligence, expected to close roughly towards the end of the year. Genesys is an enterprise-grade kind of full contact center solution in and by itself. So they've entered into an agreement to acquire Interactive Intelligence. I would say the answer to that question is a little unknown, but I know or presume that one of the leading attractions for Genesys in Interactive Intelligence is the PureCloud platform. that is absolutely going to be one of the core product offerings moving forward. And depending on how other things shift with other areas of the business, it's going to take some time for all of this to evolve. And we'll know more in the coming weeks. But it's very early to be able to answer that with any clarity. But I fully expect PureCloud to remain not only relevant, but more than relevant. There's going to be significant investment in all parts of the business, and certainly PureCloud is not exempt from that. A question on ETA on dynamic CRM integration from PureCloud. Great question. And this is really relevant considering the topic today being our API. The question there is, well, and actually I'll frame this up a little differently. Interactive has historically, as part of their CIC business, authored and maintained and supported third-party integrations to a large extent. And those would have included, you know, third-party CRM integrations for Salesforce, Dynamic CRM, Siebel, SAP, etc. They really took a different direction as PureCloud was evolving, meaning they were really going to leverage the partner community to develop those integrations outside of a few core ones. And Dynamic CRM is absolutely in Avtex's sweet spot, not only from a business practice but from an integration end of things. We actually have authored the formal integration for CIC called Interaction Sync, and we're absolutely going to do that as a I would say the timing, we're looking at kind of an MVP or minimal viable product approach to that, meaning we're going to accommodate screen maybe our perspective early and first, and I expect those to be available and hope additional capabilities depending on the CRM environment for unified desktop, etc., would be a phase 2. But we fully appreciate that for that particular integration in the field, and as I noted, that is without question priority number 1. Any additional questions out there? We'll hold on a couple more minutes in case some questions pop into folks' minds. Here we go. Will the CRM integration regard a completed phone call to account in CRM? I believe the concept there would be, so when you've got a call completed, now you want to tie that back to an account within CRM. That's something we commonly do. I believe that is slated for the MVP, meaning phase 1, yes. Any other questions? Well, it's 26 minutes past the hour with a few minutes left. I'll give one more minute here. Otherwise, I certainly want to say thank you to you all for joining. I see some common names out there, so we certainly appreciate the efforts in joining our webinar series. We're certainly thankful for all of your business as well. Any questions that come up post-webinar, you can certainly direct those through our sales channel or through existing relationships that you have here within Avtex, and we look forward to talking with you next time. Thanks and enjoy the rest of your day.